Okay, so now we're going to learn about my favorite website, and we're going to use that to learn about different kinds of bolts that are out there. The book does a pretty good job about threads and bolts and grades of bolts, but it doesn't do a super good job about the kind of bolts that you need to buy. And it's important to know how to ask for the right bolt. So if you pick up a bolt and you see this shape of its head, you should know how to ask or how to look up that particular style of head. So that's an important skill that I hope that I can uncover with you guys today. So first of all, I'm going to take you to my favorite website, www.mcmaster-carr.com. And there it is. McMaster Carr is a pretty good distribution center for a lot of different kind of parts. And it's also a great source of information. So I'm not actually advocating this as a place to buy anything. I am advocating this website as a place to learn things. So what I'm going to simply do is look at this top row here. And you usually put the things you sell the most of near the top of your website. And as you can see, right near the top of the website are all their fasteners. Right at the very beginning are their screws and bolts. There's a couple other things on this row that I'm not going to dive into, which I'll mention, which are your threaded rods and studs. We're going to talk about threaded rods, all thread, studs, things like that in the book shortly. There's specialty bolts, some things called I bolts and U bolts. They're a whole class of bolts with special rings or special loops. And obviously nuts are in here. And even on the far right are helical and threaded inserts. These are things you would use to repair a hole where you lost a thread and you need to return it to a threaded hole. You guys have the ability to fix holes in threaded devices and repair them, okay? So let's go look at your screws and bolts. This is where it gets especially interesting. Number one, we can see pictures of all the main kind of bolts. And I'm going to hit on a few of them which are absolutely critical for you guys to know the names of. Number one, socket head screws. These are screws with a cylindrical head, and they have almost always a hex or an Allen key style kind of torque technique. So you torque it down with a hex or an Allen head. They come in stainless, they come in all different grades of steel, lengths, and thread sizes, metric and English. So these are the most common screw bolt that you're going to find on machines. Any kind of machines that you're repairing or working on, you're going to find this as extremely common. Second most common would be these round-headed screws. Sometimes they're called button-headed. So that's a very important thing. You see round-headed or button-headed screws, depending on where you're buying them from. All right. The one that you're probably most familiar with as a bolt is called a hex head screw or bolt. And those hex head have that hexagonal shape that's easy to grab with a wrench. Also very common is your flat-headed screws, where you've got a flat head also with an Allen key to torque it into place, but it's got a cone almost shape to it so it can set flush in a surface. You need to have some sort of drill to create that cone hole, but then that cone then can set flush the surface. Some of the rest of these, I'm not going to dive in, go through all the different screws out there. You guys might be familiar with carriage bolts. They tend to be used most often in wooden construction because that little square shape on the inside of that head gets sucked down into the wood and creates a lock on the back end of the bolt in a wood relationship. And there's a lot of other different screws out there. I'm not going to go through them all. So I may add test questions that require you look up things from McMaster Carr. So be sure you are familiar with these screws in McMaster Carr before we dive into this. But let me also mention some other things in McMaster Carr. If you want to say learn about heating blowers, okay, you can type in blowers and it will give you all the different kind of blowers out there. If you want to learn about pressure washers, right, it'll give you a list of pressure washers and different add-ons you can put onto your pressure. If you want to learn about any kind of part or tool or machine that's commonly used in manufacturing, you're going to find it here, any topic at all. If you want to learn about tubing, there's all your different kinds of tubing. And a lot of times it will give you, in a given topic, a little blurb about why you would use that style of tubing. So this is really good education. Soft plastic tubing for air, industry standard for air and water, which means it's not high pressure, and it also isn't very resistant to chemicals, but it's cheap, right? Then you got the next high pressure soft plastic tubing. It's got a polyester braid embedded, and so on and so on. It gives you all this information on a topic that helps you research a particular topic. And there are thousands and thousands of pages of research they've done for you to provide you information on these different topics and how to pick the right part for these topics. So McMaster Carr is my go-to source for all basic information about the latest stuff you can buy on different topics. Not always my source for buying things. Sometimes it is, sometimes it isn't, depends on the price, but it's a good